Today, I'm talking to former Cleveland Browns head coach from 2016 to 2018, Raiders 2011, Hugh Jackson. Thank you for making time today. We are going to talk about a couple things, the current racial climate and how that ties to the NFL and what you're doing to get more diversity on the coaching staff. So first of all, you are one of a small group of Black NFL head coaches, and I'm sure that is an honor just to be a head coach of an NFL team. But I do want to ask, how tough was it for you to get to that spot? And did you have any more difficulty, do you think, compared to your white counterparts?
I think the numbers say that we did have a lot of difficulty compared to our white counterparts. This is the 100-year history of the National Football League this year, and there's only been 18 minority head coaches in the history of the league. So I think the numbers would tell you that there's been some issues.
And how did you get there? I mean, was it a tough fight to get to that top? Did you have to, do you think, do more convincing, show that, yes, I have the talent? You had to prove yourself at a different level?
Absolutely. I think there once was a roadmap on how you became a head coach in the National Football League. You had to kind of work your way up. You came from a position coach to a coordinator, from a coordinator to a head coach position. Then all of a sudden the goalposts started to move. You know, some of our counterparts were getting jobs, and some of them hadn't even been position coaches. Some of them were now coming from college into the National Football League and getting head coaching jobs. So it really started to change. I think I did it the long, hard, tried and true way. And there's some other people who are doing it a different way, and that's okay. I just think we all want the same level playing field for everybody.
And it's interesting because of the majority of the athletes on the NFL are minorities, but most of the owners and the coaches are white. So why is this an issue for players and for the people that watch the NFL as a whole?
Karina, you said it. I mean, 70% of the players in the National Football League are minorities. Let's flip that. And coaching is the opposite, is 70% of the coaches are Caucasian. So I don't have that answer. I think in order to understand the problem that we're facing today, you have to go back and dig through when it first started. So you got to have a problem awareness thought process. And then you have to really find out what is the root cause of this. When you look at it, people will say, well, there's no ownership that's minorities. There's not many GMs. So in the decision-making positions, there's not a lot of minority representation. There's no minority owners. There's 2 minority GMs in all of 32 teams. So that tells you that there is a problem when it comes to diversity and equality. So we're trying to do everything we can to make those things known so that we can start to make a difference.
Well, some people might say, there's the Rooney Rule, which pretty much states that every NFL team interview at least one minority candidate upon vacancy of a head coaching position or be subjected to a significant monetary fine. That's pretty much the rule. But what do you think about it? Is that not enough?
Well, it hasn't been, because people start circumventing the rule. So as the owner of the team, I could walk down the hall and interview somebody who was on my staff and for the head coaching position, knowing that I was not going to hire him. And so that would suffice the interview, and I can go hire somebody else. So the Rooney Rule now has made some additions, which I think needed to happen. It is now a stronger rule, and it's going to require teams to truly interview more than one candidate. So they're trying, and I really appreciate the National Football League stepping up and seeing that it's a problem. But boy, we really need to find faster solutions in this space.
And you're doing something about it. You've started an initiative. Tell me about it and who you're working with and what you hope to accomplish.
Well, it's called Enough. It started from an idea I had when I started talking to minority coaches and other Black leaders in the world that there was a problem. And I thought the only way to tackle this is to really tackle it from outside in. Let's find other people in the Fortune 500 world, other world leaders, people who have had to deal with this on a higher scale, to find out what are they doing to make a difference in this space. How do we really have these real conversations as we move forward to tackle this the right way and come up with real solutions I think sometimes people like to talk about the problem and then they come up with these fast solutions and they never work. So I wanted to be very strategic with a group of people. Leslie Kirsch, she's outstanding. She's been like my right hand in this. Trey Ryan, he's been outstanding in this with me. And Doug, who I think you know, he has been just phenomenal in helping this process. But there was a group of other leaders that we had, and we came up with a think tank group, which we called Enough. And we wanted to come up with real solutions that we could help. You know, again, we're not trying to, to go back and say, well, what everybody's doing is wrong. That's one thing, but you don't tell them what they need to do. You need to really come up with solutions on how to solve the problems. And I think we've done a really good job of trying to do that.
And you're talking about Doug Ullman from Pelotonia. So you have people of all races, all different walks of life, part of Enough, trying to figure out, you know, how are you going to make this actually happen? So what is the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal is to get everybody to have the right conversations, you know, not to just the kind of little conversations that happen at the water cooler, but really to have the really deep dive conversations that need to be had. Because anytime you're talking about culture, diversity, racial issue, people really, that's hard for people to really want to discuss those things. And so we're really trying to lay out some real initiatives that we think will make a difference to all. And so that the fans can have a part of this, the players should have a part of this, the owners should have a part of this. I mean, this is their sport, it's football. So if we're okay with the way things are, all right, but obviously we're not. So let's have the real conversations to see if we can solve these issues.
Yeah, and some of those conversations are difficult. But I have to ask, what do you think it meant having you as a head football coach to your players? Have they talked to you about it? Have they ever said, we appreciate that you're at the top? What kind of feedback have you received on that end?
I have received that feedback everywhere I've been, because I think it's like anything, I look like a lot of the players. So I can have different type of conversations with them, because some of the things they've been through, maybe I have, maybe I haven't, but they felt more comfortable having those conversations. Not that they wouldn't go to my counterparts and have those conversations, but when you see somebody who looks like you, that maybe talks like you do a little bit, you feel a little bit more comfortable having those conversations. And that's what I understand about our owners in the National Football League, who are Caucasian, the majority of them, all of them. They're used to people who look like them and talk like them as well. So that's the reason why minorities, in my opinion, is just a piece of it, haven't been hired in those leadership positions.
And lately, we've seen NFL athletes and others stand up to racial inequality. How do you feel about that? Some of the things that have been done before the games, during the games. What do you think about athletes, professional athletes, using their voice on that national platform in that way?
I think that is awesome. I think, thank God, it's time that it needed to happen. And they're bringing these things to light about what is really going on. And I think the more we do it, the better, but we still need to find the solutions. You know, I'm very proud of the men and women who've come out and said, hey, look, enough's enough. But now what are we going to do to make a change in our world, to make a huge impact, to make a difference?
And do you think nowadays we've seen, everything from what happened to Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, there's been a lot of instances lately where it's been put in the national spotlight. Do you think it is easier to have those conversations now, or more difficult? And do you see there's hope that change will happen?
I absolutely believe that that is the reason why we can have these conversations, because it is time to have them. And I do believe that there's hope if we can truly all come together and have the right conversation. That's still the key to it all. I mean, just talking about it, I think we've talked about this for years, but nothing's changed. So we got to start to have the right conversations, to come up with the right solutions. There needs to be empathy. I mean, obviously we got to understand what the root cause of the issues are, There needs to be empathy. There needs to be sacrifice. And there's got to be a strategy to how do we fix this. And until we have those kind of conversations, I don't think things would change.
And you've seen white players come out in support of their fellow football players, basketball players. What does that mean to you? What do you think about that?
I feel it makes me feel good because I think they see the struggle finally that maybe some of their Black players have felt and some of the Black coaches have felt. And they were very, had unbelievable relationships with these people. And now they can see, well, wait a minute, maybe I didn't really value that conversation earlier, but I do now because I understand how this person was feeling and exactly what they were saying. So I think that's where it all started. I think the fact that those conversations are happening is what's going to allow the real conversations to happen in the future.